Welcome back to the show, everyone. Both Miss Forbes and myself are divers, and there's nothing quite like being under the water and coming across or knowing that you're going to something that has been sunk and getting a chance to see it.
One of the
waves.
coolest experiences. And well, there's some folks around town who managed to do that for us. They're the Artificial Reef Society, and the president, Howie Robbins, is joining us now. Howie, how are you?
Hi, Howie.
Very well.
Good. Tell us about what you guys do as the Artificial Reef Society.
Well, we're a nonprofit organization based in British Columbia, and we are all divers, and our interest is about creating more dive tourism for British Columbia, and sinking ships is one of the best ways of getting people to British Columbia to dive our waters.
And one of the great things about artificial reefs, as they're called, is that they become a home to so much marine life. Maybe you can elaborate on that and how it is an eco-friendly thing to do.
Well, you know, there's an expression that goes around in the inner circles that nature abhors a vacuum. So the moment we put down a substructure that's absolutely uncolonized, it becomes a magnet just through natural progression. Divers go down to these ships and see changes every season as marine creatures find their way blindly as they crawl along the ocean floor to this sudden substrate. And a lot of animals migrate. Some of them are deposited. Embryonic animals are in the current and get deposited by natural course of action. And you actually get to see successive generations of birth, growth, and mortality of various generations of marine life, to the extent that over a number of years they actually do mimic what appears to be a natural reef.
Very cool. Now, there's so much preparation that goes in. You know, you guys aren't just taking a ship, driving it out there and letting her drop. Tell us about what you do that keeps it environmentally friendly and makes sure that it is a good environmental home for things that are already living under there.
Well, some of the obvious things that we have to do is we have to make sure that we are satisfying the regulatory requirements as set forth by Environment Canada, which we helped develop. So, because we were really embarking on a program where there was no book to read. It was just trial and error and a lot of consultation and working with people and negotiating. But fundamentally, when we get the ships, they are cleaned on the environmental level by the Navy. Where they go in and they take out all the real nasty materials.
Oils
and we're looking at the Saskatchewan right now being sunk as an example of that. So this would have been cleaned like the Annapolis will be, so that it is in the right shape it should be to be sunk.
That's correct, yeah. From an environmental point of view, nothing hits the water from a pollution aspect. They are clean like a whistle. We remove all the hydrocarbons. We take off systems. Instead of degreasing them on board, we simply remove them. So there's no hydrocarbons whatsoever.
And then in terms of making it a fairly safe environment for divers as well, there's quite a bit of work on that end that you guys have to do.
Yeah, and this is where we differ from other organizations around the world that may do things, because fundamentally these projects are done by divers for divers. So as a diver myself, I know what I'm going to get hooked up on, or I know an area that may be too cramped, so therefore we need to open it up. We cut holes in the ship both vertically and horizontally. Just on the if-come, maybe the ship doesn't land on its keel. There's always a way in, there's always a way out, and there's always ambient light set aside.
So you can see where you are.
Okay, these people are the first ones to take a dive on the Saskatchewan. Now maybe you can tell us what that experience is like when you are descending and you first get a glimpse of the ship.
Well, the first impression is you've been walking the decks of the ship for so long. Now you're in a horizontal position, weightless. So all of a sudden, the whole scope of the vessel looks so much larger. You feel that much smaller on it, and you just can't wait to sort of get around and see all these areas that you've participated in or and you just can't get enough.
And it's really awe-inspiring and haunting at the same time. There's just nothing like it.
It is. It's kind of eerie because you're on a shipwreck where there's absolutely no marine life yet. So you're just in the
where's the captain?
Where is everybody?
But then as you go back, you actually see how it changes over a relatively quick period of time because our waters here are so rich.
Okay, we've got to talk about the plane you guys sunk as well, because this is. Can people dive on this now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we sank that in 2006, and it's sitting at 90 feet of water.
Perfect.
You reach the tail at about 40 feet, and it takes you right down to the plane itself. Obviously is connected, and you can go through the main cabin and go down into the
and you guys actually landed it on pedestals so that people could get under wings?
Yeah. Well, what happened was when we got the airplane, it had no wheels. So the idea of the plane sitting sort of cockeyed like this on the ocean floor, it wasn't sexy.
No.
So I said, go back to when we were all building model airplanes and spaceships, and they all had stands or
Yeah.
model pedestals, and that's why we put this
Cool.
one on a cradle.
Cool and kind of creepy at the same
Yeah,
time.
no
Okay,
kidding.
the Annapolis is the ship that's being prepared to be sunk somewhere in Howe Sound.
Correct.
The location hasn't been secured yet, but it will be available for divers sometime soon. Tell us a little bit about it and about the ship itself, first of all.
Well, it's the last steamer on the West Coast. It's a helicopter ship, which means its configuration is larger on the superstructure than any of the other ships we've sunk in its class. And
Got a big bridge.
it's got a large bridge. It's very clean inside, but we have to go through the same processes. The exciting thing about this project is that it's about 40% more exterior surface area for marine life to adhere to and to explore, and it'll be sunk in Vancouver.
Well, and as you mentioned, it was equipped so that a helicopter could land on it. This is
unique for it?
Yeah,
this
that
is
right?
all what,
CH-124 helicopter, which was really an extension of the ship's eyes and ears and armory too, because it had munitions, so it could go out and track submarines as well. Very important piece of equipment on the vessel.
And you're looking
Cool.
for volunteers to help you out. Maybe you can explain what kind of volunteers you're looking for and what they'd be doing.
Well, we're looking for anyone who's got a decent set of tools and ratchets and pliers, and they come on board and they just help us disassemble certain areas like crew quarters where the bunks are there. A lot of that metals can be used for salvage to help support
Yeah.
the project.
Yeah.
So we tear apart the rooms for diver access and for recycling purposes as well. Sometimes we'll open up whole corridors, and so the volunteers come in and they help, dismantle those components. Maybe we have to bag some fiberglass insulation, those things. Give it the old sweep and make sure that every single cup is picked up.
what a
before we
great way to
sink it.
What a
contribute
cool
to your
experience,
community.
too.
And they get to explore the ship. And
Yeah.
not only that, there's a real sense of satisfaction because when they're tasked to clear a room and they do it, that room is done for diving. And so they can go back as divers and go
I
see
did
it.
this room.
They did that room,
Cool.
right, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Howie, and thanks to you and everybody at the
you.
Artificial Reef Society for what you do. And make sure that you're certified to be a scuba diver,
Absolutely.
especially somebody for wreck diving before you hit the waters. And always stick with your buddy, man.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and maybe go explore some of these once you have the proper certification, because they are a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Everything you do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, our continuing segment, Recipe for Disaster, and I'm shaking
It's
my
a
head
doozy.
because this one is
There's
truly a
fire,
disaster.
there's explosions.
What are we making? A pokey
We're
pork
making-
popsicle or something?
Yeah, we're making pokey pork together right after the break.
It's going to be awesome. Pokey pork. This bag has little holes.